Midweek conversation with myself, Lisa, with Maxine and Paul. If you've not joined us before, we are three YouTube narrowboaters. I never know how to quite sort of sum us up. But anyway, we're three YouTubers who love a good chat. So we come together most weeks and just mull over a subject. We just throw it out there and talk ourselves to death for a sort of 40 minutes or up to an hour. Anyway, it is one of the highlights of my week. So this week, before we get started on this week, which is going to be called Our Perfect Day, let's find out what everybody has been up to. Maxine, what have you been up to this week?
So we've done a few days cruising, and then we've found some lovely places to stop. And my best bit was to find this amazing farm shop. It got really good produce, and because I love cooking, it was just brilliant. So we've had some nice meals this week. So yeah, and I went to pick them up when we left. I went and got some more stuff because they have frozen stuff as well. So the freezer's full of nice meat.
There's nothing I love more than a farm shop.
Yeah.
Food. It just seems so wholesome. Just when you walk in, do you get that feeling?
Yeah.
Smells better as well and tastes better.
It does. It really does make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, what have you been up to this week?
Well, we planned to do the Wigan flight last week, which was 21 locks, and then we were going to hang around maybe at Appley Bridge, which isn't that far, and we thought we'd take 2 weeks to get to the destination that we're in, which is West Lancashire, a lovely village, one of our favourite villages where we used to come for a walk around the village and go to the coffee shop, and Dexter would walk along the canal, and one of the reasons we bought a boat. Well, we had volunteers on the Wigan flight, and Peter's quite well known. He's sort of famous among boaters for volunteering at the top block. Not only did he help us through the 21 locks, he then stayed on the boat with another volunteer and did another 7 locks with us. So we just stood on the boat and he was like a tour guide pointing things out to us that we didn't know. And it was just an amazing day. And yeah, we're in one of our favourite villages.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, that is perfect. That is perfect. Well, this week, at the weekend, I did the filming for the game show. That was all very good. That all worked out quite well. So that was that. And then I've been to the pub like every night this week. It just happened that way. I did drink too much on Tuesday. When I went to another pub to meet some more friends on Wednesday, I was straight on the Coca-Cola. I was like, oh no, not making that mistake again. But it's been a lovely week, full of going out, seeing friends, and today we're going down to the caravan. Woo, woo, woo. I'm so excited. So excited. So today we are talking about our perfect day. Now, Maxine, this was your suggestion. Can you tell us a bit more why you thought this would be a good one to talk about?
I think it was something that's really, I love having my day filled with doing what I really enjoy, and of late it's not happened that as much because we seem to be rushing around a lot and other things are happening and things like that. And so I just thought it'd be nice for us all to share, what would be your perfect day, and also when it's in your mind, it's something you can plan, and so that you can try and get one, at least 1 or 2 in a month. If it's not every week, it's something that you can, or even if you can get part of it. So I just thought it would be quite a good for us all to have a chat, and everybody can join in easily with that one as well.
Yeah, it's a great one. Certainly got me thinking. So who wants to go first? Who has their perfect day lined up? Crystal clear in their head. What is it? Paul?
Yeah, sure. My perfect day. Now, I think you said, Maxine, if we had the day to ourselves. So are you just talking ourselves?
Did I changed that, didn't I? I saw that and I was like, oh, day to yourself, perfect day.
Yeah.
Should we discuss both? If we have the day to ourselves and our perfect day, should we do that? Okay.
Yeah. So my perfect day, if I had the day to myself, would be to get up at 5:30 for the dawn chorus on a spring day and walk through a woodland and listen to the birds. then I'd have to go to bed for an hour because otherwise you're tired for the day. Have coffee, have a read of a favourite book, and then go out again for another walk and do some photography. And I love the idea. And I don't know why I've never done this. I'm reading this book about nature and how it connects human beings and makes you feel much better. I think, I don't have this urge to collect things. So a pebble or some leaves, press some flowers. I know that sounds really feminine, but it's just like, and do some drawing and painting of everything that I've seen. So, if I see a bird that's particularly one of my favourite birds, I'd love to sit and paint that bird and sort of do a visual diary of that day. And then if I could, I'd end the day soaking in a bath, which isn't going to happen because we've not got on the boat. And to be honest, I never used to have a soak in a bath for about 10 years. I was like, when I was on my own, I used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always feel like the days are too short. I'm getting on, so I want to make the most of that day. Yeah, and I think that would probably it. Out and have maybe a long conversation with a very good friend to end the day.
That is wonderful. And as Maxine said, the great thing about actually saying those words out loud, this would be, if I had a day to myself, if this, this is what it would look like, because then you can say, well, actually, how do I make that happen? Yeah. If not every day, what about once a month? What about once a week? And I think we touched on it last time we spoke. And when we do things like this, and we feel so grounded and connected and joyful, I truly believe we are better in the world. If we walk through the day in this state of feeling so wonderful, that's a service to the world. So it's almost like, how not just that would be lovely, but it's almost like it's essential, because you'd be giving to the world, so much just because of your state of feeling so amazing as you do that. So that's lovely, Paul. I really love that. Maxine, what about you? Perfect day or day to yourself? You choose.
Well, my perfect day, it was very simple. Paul, get up early and go for a lovely long walk in the countryside, ideally by water, or if we're near a beach, that's even better. With Mex, and I must admit, I do that most days because I just love it. And then come back and have brunch, and my favourite is eggs Benedict, so I'd have eggs Benedict and really enjoy that. And then I think I would have a couple of hours doing something I enjoy, so writing a book, and I'm at the moment learning to knit again, so I have a couple of hours just chilling out and doing that, and then prep for evening meal, and so do a tapas because that's my favourite and our favourites, and then go for afternoon drinks and with friends, and then come back and have a lovely evening chilling, listening to music and having the tapas, and that would just be perfect.
That is such a good day. That is such a good day. I've said this before, are so similar. The themes that come out are we need to add somebody else into our conversation, someone who's just completely different, because as you're speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, food, friends, family, conversation, all of these, all of that. So when I read the day to yourself as what is your perfect day, that was obviously my mind thinking a day to myself would be the perfect day. My brain started to think, well, what I'd do is I'd start in the morning, and like spending time with family is like one of my favorite things. I'll fit that in the morning, and then I'll go there. And then this is one of my favorite things. I'll fit that in there. And it took me a good 5 minutes. I'd filled the day. I mean, it was crammed. And I thought, that's exactly what I do with life. I just
it sounds very familiar.
I know. And it was really like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. but it was almost like if I didn't include everything, it was like they didn't matter. And I was thinking, what am I doing? There's 365 days in a year. Why can't I have 365 perfect days? You know? So with that thinking, I thought, well, what really makes my heart sing? So this is it. So I'd also get up early, but unlike you two, where you both went for a walk, I'd go for a road trip. I love a road trip, and I love an early start. You know that feeling like when you're going on holiday or just something exciting is happening and you've got to get up early and go. Love that feeling. And I would travel to an event. I love an event. I love a gathering. So it would be some sort of learning stroke community stroke conversational discussion, learning stuff, listening to people speak, like a TED talk or something about the environment or about community where people gather and share and listen and learn. Oh man, that is my ideal place. There would, of course, be a delicious breakfast, a delicious lunch, and then there'd be some sort of, when I say camping, I mean comfy camping. Do you know what I mean? Sitting around the campfire with friends, more conversation, more food, maybe some wine, all of that. So a day rich in people, conversation, community, good food, and all of that. That is heaven for me. Oh man, if I could live every day like that, that would just be so great. So so that's my perfect day. So if I had the day to myself, I'd probably just stay in bed. That's two different things. So let's see who's here to join us. Pamela has mentioned my absolute most favourite museum. I love the V&A. Pamela said, if I was on my own, I'd love to spend hours in the V&A museum just reading and looking. I've done that before. Glenn has taken a dislike to that museum. And I think it's because it's my favourite one. And I was like, let's go to the V&A. And I love it. Pamela, if you ever need anyone to peruse the V&A with you and just stare and read and look at things, I'm your gal for that one.
Can I just say, Lisa, sorry to interrupt. I used to love Borders. Do you remember Borders, the bookstore?
Yes.
It was massive. You could look at books all day. You could sit on a comfy sofa or a comfy chair and drink coffee or listen to music, all the things that I love. We took Anthony's mum and she looked at it and went, is this it? I'd rather walk around Tesco.
Oh, yeah, she didn't get it, did she? She didn't know. I'm still the same with any bloody bookstore, to be honest. I love it. Love it. So good to see you, the boating photographer. And Linda, I'm actually awake this morning, she says. Happy to see your smiling faces. So yeah, hello to you all. So the question is, right, we've got a really clear, if someone says to you, what's your perfect day, or if you had the day to yourself, what would it be? We've had no trouble really being able to see what that would look like. So the question is, how do we make this happen? How do we make this happen? Because they're all things that aren't, you know, they're not like you need a massive budget to do it. They're not, not at all. The one thing it needs is time.
Yeah.
The time out of our lives. And especially, well, you know, mine includes an external event, but Maxine and Paul, both of yours are something you could literally do tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you chose to. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, how do we make it happen?
We've just got to plan, haven't we? We've got friends who were teachers. One was a deputy head and a partner was a teacher. And we used to go on holiday with them and they had everything planned out to the T. And it was less stressful for a start. Whereas Anthony and myself, we arrive at a place and we're like, what do we do? Should we try and find a tourist information place? Should we just walk around? How do we get the tube to this place and that place? And it can be quite stressful. And with no plan, it's a bit like doing your Christmas shopping without a list, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're a bit like Hedge Dickens going round various cities. So I think I told you before that we sat at the coach station in Spain and we said, let's have a coffee because we've got an hour before the coach arrives. And then we realised the time difference. So we had about 60 seconds to get our coach. It's just like, that just sums us up. We're dead disorganised. But planning, and none of us have said our perfect day would include 2 hours on a mobile phone, have we?
No. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I was just sharing with you both, wasn't I, before we came live? I've actually taken Facebook off my phone because I was trying to cut down. It just wasn't happening. I was just scrolling as well. It would be empty communication. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it, that I would engage in a meaningful way. It was just empty. So I decided to delete it. But now it hasn't given me more time. I'm just searching my phone for something else, another app. I've been clicking on all sorts of apps, like just looking. I've planned my food delivery service for the next 4 weeks. So we'll have that. I mean, it's just like there's so much time if we look for it, isn't there? And we've talked about time before, haven't we? I wonder, Paul, with I love that idea of that, you could go for a walk and then gather something from your walk and then paint it or draw it. I mean, that is beautiful. Could you imagine, a sketch pad literally as a journal like that? Beautiful.
I also read in this book about collecting things. So it would be nice, especially as we're traveling and we all travel, to pick up. So, we had a really nice time at Fowl Ridge and I found a pebble. So I've kept that pebble. Or you'll find a feather in a favourite woodland walk, and to put them all in a container and just be reminded of these things. It's almost like a keepsake. So I'm in something maybe like a pencil case, because we're limited to the amount of things we can keep on a boat, and just having little things like that. I know it all sounds a bit new agey, but
I love it, Paul. I love it. I think it's a beautiful thing to do, and I just love that it's a mindful activity, because you're looking for something. You're walking, you're out there, and then it's that connection with nature. I think it's a really beautiful thing to do. So I'm all for that. So Maxine, if you got any way that you can make your ideal day, your perfect day into fruition, is it as simple as putting a date in the diary for your friends to come around for you to cook, literally thinking, I'm going to do that a couple of times a month? It is simple.
It is, as Paul just said, it's planning, and especially with getting friends around as much now, it is very difficult because we live so far away and everything. But I mean, this weekend, we've got my mum and dad coming down. They're bringing some food bits. I'm going to cook some bits, and we're going to go for a walk and cruise. So we'll do a lot of it. But then other way, I mean, I cook just for the two of us, and I enjoy that as well. So I will say, right, this is happening. And that's why we've now, because I've said today, we've got to stay somewhere for a few days this week, so that we're not rushing around all the time, because we tend to start rushing. So this week, one day over the next couple of days, I will have that day, even if it's probably only the two of us, but we'll have the full tapasy meal. We'll go for a walk and just have a chill out and things like that. So it will happen. But it's just making it happen and putting it, saying, right, this is it, it's happening today, and this is what we want to do, and going with it, and don't let anything else stop you, because it's very easy, I think, to something will crop up and you'll say, oh, I can't do that today, we'll go and that other thing that crops up, unless it's obviously really, really important and an emergency, it's going to be upset somebody else if you can't do it, then fair enough. But if it's just something that you can do tomorrow, you can carry on doing what you've planned for that day.
Mm. Do you know what? Do you mind if I go off piste with this conversation? Because something Maxine's just said, I just thought, oh, I'd really like to ask you about that. So you've mentioned that it's been really busy, you know, so you've settled down, you said, right, we're staying here because it's been busy. And that, what I was thinking of, when we first moved on the boat full time, the first couple of weeks, it felt like a holiday from life. Like it was like, you know, you're in this bubble and it's so lovely and it felt like a holiday. And then what I realized, that I just created the same busyness that was in our life before, but living on a boat. Right. And when you said that, I thought, I wonder if you've realized that that's happened, you know, that you can spot that and think, do you know what? This isn't how it was supposed to be.
Totally.
Yeah.
That 100%. We're just basically replicating, instead of living in the house, we're living on a boat doing it, but everything's just we don't have the chill out time on doing what we said we were going to do. So let's stop everything, let's start again and do what we said we were going to be doing.
Because that's really interesting, because that happened to us on the boat and it happened to us when we moved in here. In my head, the perfect, clearest picture of this life that I wanted. And really, well, to be honest, since we moved into the house, I can just say that life just got much, much more busier. And all the things that were on the list, you know, just there didn't seem room. I wonder if that's like a human condition. How do we break that cycle? Paul, have you have you seen that in your life?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I think having a car, you're tempted to drive off to the nearest supermarket. Whereas if you didn't have the car, you'd walk to the local village shop. And you're paying more for the produce, but you're shopping locally. And it is sort of, I think when you're on a boat, you tend to be busy than if you weren't on a boat, because you've got to do other things, which is take the cover down before you go cruising and make sure you've got fuel, and then fill up with water, which can take sometimes 45 minutes or an hour. Everything takes slightly longer, doesn't it, to empty your bin? You've got to walk to the bin. So you've got to plan it. I don't know what the answer is, but I've found that maybe some days this isn't exactly what we had in our mind when we thought about boating. When we walk down, especially in this village, we used to walk past boaters and they'd be sat outside having a barbecue and a glass of wine, and it's a lovely summer's evening. And I think, oh, that looks idyllic, and I just can't wait for that to happen.
Somebody else one day you were thinking.
It would. Yeah, why have we been on the boat for 2 years? And I think we've probably sat out one. That's not in the evening. We had a barbecue the other week, and that was nice. Apart from, I'm not going to say, because they might be listening. They'd been drinking all afternoon. They were fairly drunk when we got there, and we were completely sober.
Oh, that is it just, human behavior fascinates me. You know, when I often like look at something that I'm doing and I'm like, why, you know, and again, we've covered that a million times, you know, why do I eat junk food when I actually love really healthy foods that makes me feel good? Why do I still eat it? Not a clue. So his perfect day on my own would be a simple day. All housework would be done and I would chill out with my duvet, watching TV and having no responsibilities. Do you know what? I don't enjoy watching bits of TV in the evening. I always think I could be doing something else, something different, something better. But a day on, like a daytime TV, like sitting on the sofa, watching TV, and not feeling that you should be somewhere else, just being able to enjoy it. That's a great day.
Great day. I remember having my wisdom teeth out and people coming around to look after me, bringing cups of coffee and start watching TV, and I thought I could get used to this.
Here's a top tip, Paul. You don't have to have your wisdom teeth out to do it. You can just do it. That's right. Yeah.
What, just pretend you're ill?
Yeah. Just pretend. Lorna, this is Lorna's favourite day. Would involve a day to hay on what? Is it hay on a way?
Yeah.
A walk up a hill or mountain, and anything involving nature with a fab coffee shop. That's perfect.
Yeah,
sounds nice.
Perfect. That's a good one. Love these. I love all these. Boating photographer. Sometimes you have to take a breath and pause because life can be so hectic, but make time for friends, family, and self-care. Last week, taking my parents to see the Bluebell Woods. Perfect memory. Bluebells are just something where every time I see them, which is usually every year, they still take my breath away. The beauty of them.
They're gorgeous.
And the smell is just stunning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a bottle, that smell.
It is. It's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah.
And early morning, if you can get there early morning, perfect again. Jackie, a perfect day with others would be a day with my family and grandchildren at the beach on a sunny day, chatting, playing, having a picnic and crabbing. A day just messing around. Jackie, that is also one of my perfect days, and that's when I was first thinking, I said I tried to cram it. That exact thing that you just described, Jackie, was like what, I was like, I'll do that in the morning. I'll do that in the afternoon. I love that. Just being.
Can I ask a question of you both? Sorry to interrupt, Lisa. Have you ever planned that perfect day? Because I've thought, it'll be a perfect day to take my parents out and we'll go to the beach and we'll have coffee and cake or we'll go and hire a boat. And then sometimes it's not worked out. Are you in your head and you think, why do I bother? So,
yes.
My dad, let's go.
I mean, that is so interesting. I mean, yes, most definitely. I mean, as a parent, your life is pretty full of those moments, to be honest. Like, you're like, we're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. It is awful. And everyone just can't wait to get home. And you just think, why did I even bother? Yeah, that was like 18 years of my life, Paul, there. Yes, that is so interesting. So, is it because it rarely lives up to the expectation?
Yeah.
So is the perfect day something that we can't plan like that? Because what makes it perfect is as we show up and what happens within that day.
Yeah, perhaps we can't plan the perfect day and it's more spontaneous. We've had days where I've thought, we've been cruising usually and, the weather's stunning and you hear a favourite bird and you'll see a favourite bird and you'll chat to people. And like last weekend, we met 4 amazing people and we've made really good friends. And to us, that was the perfect day, but none of it was really planned apart from the journey.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's true, Paul.
So interesting. So interesting.
And we've said about Christmas, haven't we? That we see Christmas in the films and it looks like the ideal Christmas, but it's often nothing like that. It's stressful, it's expensive, you've got a headache.
It feels a shallow sort of representation of this rich, idealized version that we have of something, so it becomes like shallow in comparison. So that is fascinating. Good point, Paul. That is.
I've got a real dampener on the conversation now.
I think it's really needed because otherwise, we'd set off and we're like, well, this is going to be the perfect day. And then things happen and you're left feeling, well, that wasn't perfect. So, that is very interesting. Angel Eyes 21 says, Paul, you look like Richard Carpenter.
Oh.
I don't know what Richard Carpenter looks like. I don't know whether that's an insult or a huge compliment.
No, I might wait till the end before I Google it. Somebody said I looked like that chef once, and I could see the resemblance, but I wasn't impressed.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to look. Carry on chatting.
Susan says it's good to catch her. She looked yesterday, but we weren't here. That's because although we started off on a Wednesday, hence the midweek bit, I'm now generally working on a Wednesday. So Thursday looks like it might be the best day for us. Linda says, I'm with Jackie, my dog and I hanging out at home with no one else around. That is cool. So
I think that's when it can be your perfect day, though, when it's just you, because you've planned what you want to do. It's when you bring everybody else into it that you visualize what that perfect day is with everybody else, is when it goes completely.
And you have really an expectation of how you want others to behave in your perfect day.
Yeah, and then make it up. So just don't invite them.
Yes, this is the role that you have to play today in my perfect day.
You can hand out a sheet. This is today's where you're going
to. This is how I want to feel by the end of the day.
Yeah. This is man.
Let's pretend it's a day. I think if that's the thing about this program I was talking about earlier that I may mention later before we go. It's just. I said to Anthony, can't we pretend like we just met? Because it was something we were saying on the way out yesterday. And he went, and the way he spoke to me, I went, you wouldn't have spoke to me like that when we first met. You'd been really nice about it.
Do you know what? I would love to do a conversation. I think we might have to, it would be a brave one, but about relationships and about what works, what doesn't, and how you keep the curiosity alive and thriving in long-term relationships. When you've been together, years and years, how does that relationship change? But also how do we, I hate to say, how do we keep it fresh? It sounds like a magazine article. Keep your relationship fresh. But
how do we keep that magic?
Keep the magic alive. Here we go. Here's a good comment. I think this is Neil, boating photographer, I'm sure. I work in a primary school and each day is different. You never know what's going to happen, but some days when a child achieves, shares a moment or does something amazing, those days are magical. Absolutely. And that is the beauty of being around young people and children, isn't it? You have they have a completely different perspective on life, and you can't help but for that to impact you. So do we think we've covered the perfect day or a day to yourself? Do you think we've covered that?
Can I just throw, when you said, Maxine, about, so I think a perfect day would probably last 2 days, wouldn't it? Because Maxine, you hit the nail on the head, because I'm thinking, Eggs Benedict, that sounds perfect. And tapas, that sounds perfect. And I was thinking, do you remember that children's program, Mr. Ben, where we used to go into the wardrobe and he'd come out in a different outfit? And I do. How amazing would it be if, like, on our perfect day, we could be in Spain on a sunny evening having tapas and a glass of wine, and then in the evening end up in South Africa watching the stars, and and being our favourite coffee shop in the morning. I'm getting goosebumps.
That sounds wonderful.
Paul, that takes me back to the very start of this conversation when I said I'd ram this day full of completely different experiences, and quite frankly it was quite exhausting. So I think one a day is perfectly fine.
I wouldn't want to fly and be checking in at the airport just to go for an evening meal. No.
I do actually love an airport. I love any sort of travel. Like, I even love a good service station. Everyone is on their way. Everyone's on a journey, and it just fascinates me. I love it. So
it's great for watching people.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
I can't read a book at the airport. I'm always people watching.
It's just like this behind your book. Before we go, I thought we'd throw in a new segment. Oh, look, there's a boat going past, Maxine.
That's not real. It's like a TV screen behind you.
It is a wave.
Can you stop them? They're only £10, that boat. I don't know them.
So, Paul, you mentioned before we went live that you'd been watching a TV program that had really was a joy to watch.
Yeah.
So we thought, before we end, if we share something that has just cheered us in some way, something, it could be something we've read, something we've seen, something we've done, but something that has cheered us this week. So, Paul, you go first.
Yeah, well, this TV series, friends had told us about it. It was only released recently. It's on Netflix and it's called Heartstopper. And it's based on a novel, and I'm really bad. I can't remember the name of the author. I will look it up. But it's just amazing TV. It's got 100% in the ratings from everyone that's watched it. It's just beautifully done. And it's about a young boy who's about 16 in school, and he's gay and gets picked on and bullied, but then falls in love with this guy who nobody thinks he would, be able to do that, because he's like, captain of the rugby team and nobody thinks he'd be interested in boys. But it's just about the love story, and it also involves other people. And it's just, if the world was perfect, and I'm thinking, how much has it come on? Because I don't know if, our British viewers, especially on EastEnders, a same-sex couple kissed and there was outrage and it was all over the press and everyone was talking about it. And yet this program just celebrates love for what it is. And it's just, love is love. And yeah, a wonderful program. And I think anybody would enjoy it. It just makes you feel good. And we've just binge watched nearly all of it.
Perfect. I'm definitely gonna check that out. Thanks for that, Paul. That's brilliant. That's a great suggestion. Maxine, anything that's cheered you this week?
Yeah, when I go for my morning walks and everything, I always listen to either a podcast or Audible book, and I downloaded Miriam Margolyes's biography.
Right.
Yes, Margolyes. So, and it's brilliant. It's dodgy in some places and everything. You have to have a very open mind listening to it. But she is, I love watching her anyway. But listening to her story and what she went through and how she's getting, I'm probably about a third of the way through, but it's really a really enjoyable book.
All right.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. I've got 1.5 really, because we'd only decided we were going to do this 2 minutes before we came live. I haven't even got the name of this one. So on Tuesday, when I was in the car driving to pick Leo up after school, I flicked onto Radio 4 because I'm sophisticated like that and caught the middle section of a play which was set in the future, and it was funny and it was interesting. I'm going to find what it's called and I will leave a link, right? It was Tuesday afternoon, about 2:00 on Radio 4. And it was just funny. And it was about how the world, there'd been some sort of implosion or something in the world. And it was all about the products, our need for products had caused it. So it was based on this tribe of people that worship Mother Nature, but it was very sort of funny. And so I listened to the middle of it when I went to pick Leo up, and I was telling Glenn about it last night. We always listen to a podcast or something when we get into bed. Well, usually the same podcast for weeks because we fall asleep within minutes. And I told him about it, and we were like, "Oh, let's put that on." We put it on, and actually, I caught the beginning of it. So I've listened to the middle, the beginning, and hopefully the end, and then hopefully I'm going to listen to it all again. But that's the half the thing I wanted to tell you about. Yeah. Yesterday, the parish council where I work, they hold a free monthly lunch. So once a month they cook an amazing feast. It's the community hub. They cook this amazing feast, open the doors to the community. Anyone can come. It's free. It's like a hot meal, delicious, lovely. Anyway, it's the highlight of my month when that's on. But yesterday I nipped out of the office and there was a lady with 2 children. I'm going to use the word loitering, but she looked a little lost, and I just said, oh, do you know, there's a free lunch in there. Anyone can come. You're welcome. You know, come on in. And I saw her come in, and her and her children, they ate this wonderful meal, and it just made me happy. It just made me happy that the community where I work, you know, offer this great service, and that people can just access that. You know, that it's not means tested. It's not that you don't need anything. You just show up and enjoy a beautiful meal.
That's lovely.
It's beautiful. Made me very happy. Made me very happy. So anyway, so I think that is it for this week. That is it. Thank you, Maxine. That was a brilliant conversation. I love that. So any thoughts of what we're going to talk about next week? Maybe we should do relationships. That would be an interesting one. And let's see where that takes
the week
us.
after. I'm very down about life.
So for this week, thank you, Paul and Maxine, for joining me. It is the highlight of my week. I absolutely love it. Thank you, everybody who's joined us, either online right now or who'll watch later. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.